Here we are.
Welcome to Tony Talking Trash About Music. Today we're back at our favorite place, Solar Mountain Records here in Kaiser with the great Bart, the drummer extraordinaire and the owner of Solar Mountain Records. Today we wanted to focus, one of the things we wanted to talk about was running a record store. Bart has been the owner of this record store for pretty much as long as I've been close to in practice here. And maybe I did. Bart, why don't you just tell us a little bit about like the history of this when it got started, and then what I think I'm really interested in, what people are interested in, is you worked in D.C. when I worked in D.C. in the 80s and the 90s. How have things changed? I know that's a big question, but anyway, tell us a little bit about your place here, and maybe talk about that in the context of that, brother, if you can.
I don't know where to start. I used to do record shows in the, late 80s, 90s. And then I had the wild idea. A mentor of mine, Joe's Records of Silver Spring, Maryland. It's a long story, but I loved that. It was one of my favorite record stores. And I used to always feel good when I was in there. And I said, well, maybe they need some help. So I said, you need any part-time help? And Joe looks at me and he goes, yeah. He would smoke inside his shop. Yeah. So I started working at Joe's Records. It was on Goody Drive in Rockville. And I've never had a job where I enjoyed vacuuming so much. I remember almost a giggly feeling in my stomach as I vacuumed a record store. I felt like I had value. I was in a record store and I'm cleaning it and I'm making this the best record store ever.
Boy, we're all drawn to that. Everybody that's meant to be there is there. What a collection of souls that you run into in there in the record stores. I'm sure you had your,
the camaraderie.
Himself is just
the camaraderie, and it just we're on a different level. We're different wavelengths, and it's just my happy place. So, I've done a lot of different jobs. Not going to bore you with that, but I was getting into an age of middle age, and I thought, man, life's going by fast. I need to figure out what I want to do and do it. What do I enjoy? And my chief in the Air Force gave me a book. It was What Color is Your Parachute? So I finally picked it up 20, 30 years later, I'm like, or 20. And I said, well, music. I love music. I love playing. I'm a performer. I majored in music. The record store was never to be my number one thing. It was a partnership. And due to my ADHD, it's perfect. I play a little music, so enjoy the listening and sharing, and hopefully enough to pay the bills.
What year did you get started down here, man? And
2003.
How does your thing compare now to, initially to how you worked in down there at Joe's, and then now how is it compared to with the collectible market now as to what it was?
It's to me some degree the same as it's always been. Ebb and flow. People acquire physical items of things, and as you're young, you collect. Then you get to middle age, and then you peak, and then you're done. So those once you have enough, you listen to them and do something else. You can't keep. You need new customers.
One thing I think is very admirable about your position, dude. You were here with vinyl before any of the vinyl resurgence happened. You were selling vinyl. You had a store full of vinyl. When in that age of CDs, really were like people probably most of the people were coming and say, "Hey, you got this on CD, right?" I mean, what was?
Yeah,
You were here open when that was.
CDs were king when I opened. People thought I was crazy, which I probably am, but I'm a happy crazy. And
I think you've been proven correct. So by this
I,
point,
they were like, records? No. So what I would do, I used to hustle up and say, well, I can make you a copy off that vinyl to CD. And so
cassette copies and stuff.
I know copyright probably broke a bunch of copyright
Well, if they
laws
own the
there,
CD, I mean,
yeah,
if
it came with the record. It came
with
with the record. It was a free thing. You buy the record, you get a digital copy.
There you
go. That's really what it was.
It is. There's nothing wrong with that.
And they dug it, and then all of a sudden, and everybody, record comeback, and so it's a dual-edged sword, this vinyl comeback, because I was happy as it was. I didn't need this to be steaming ahead so fast, because so many different people got in the game, the millennials, the youngers, and it's just all good. I have nothing against Spotify. I've had lots of customers from streaming services, and
what about these reissues? What about? I mean, you do have a good bit. You've got some new stuff. You've got a nice mixture, but for the most part, you are definitely a collector's store, correct?
I concentrate on original pressings or early reissues, because let's face it, some of those original pressings of the Misfits and yada bada, they're astronomical. You were telling me about the Fall, an original Fall.
Some of them, yeah.
Thousands. Yeah, sky's the limit. I mean, it's getting almost like going to see a live concert anymore. Yeah. What's the cost? Why is it costing? So it's becoming a sort of, if you have money, you get to see these groups. If you don't, you don't.
Well, I'm glad at least, like, for instance, we could give a plug for Loft 129, because I mean, I think that's very affordable tickets for that price for that kind of a show.
The Loft in Cumberland, I highly recommend. Small. We saw Randy Brecker there. I saw Randy Brecker. What was it? Steve Smith, drummer well known for Journey, and he's a great jazz.
Pat
Tony Levin is coming April 10th.
Yeah, so this guy's getting some good stuff here. Yeah, it's really good. Well, tell me now about how, if you would, I'm wondering now, how does your breakdown between 45s and stuff? I mean, you have a good bit of 45s, but the store is mostly, I guess, 12-inch, right? I mean,
it's a mess in process. I keep trying to, I'm inundated. I can't stop. I love 45s. I have a lot of 45 collectors, and
you do a lot of mail order with them for 45 stuff.
Fair amount, but no, there's stacks everywhere. This is a digger's paradise. If you like to dig, and there is some organization to it. It's not all just a free-for-all, but I like the free-for-all boxes. You can find 7 different genres in one box, which for me, ADHD, keeps things interesting.
What do you think about the RSD stuff? I mean, that's changed somewhat. How do you feel that's affected things, if at all? You already know I'm not a fan of the processing, so I hear about this big hype. Hey, we got a brand new mix of an album recorded in 1960. I'm like, oh really? You're telling me today, 40, 65 years later, you're going to deliver a more accurate product to the performance center? That you're in pipe dreamland. It's processing, man. I mean, but people like it. I mean, but people are buying. But I got to think, in the long run, that pressing done in 2025 they've hyped as a big ultra song, AUDHD. What's it going to be worth? I mean, is it going to be worth as much as an original? It's not, I don't think. I mean, I just don't.
Well, some do shoot up in value more than originals, I've noticed, and I don't quite understand that. But maybe, I don't know, less pressings of the newer reissue. I don't know.
Yeah, supply and demand, man.
I I was a record store at least 4 or 5 years before Record Store Day came into existence.
Started down there in
And
Florida.
I refused to. I didn't really, get registered and all that and be a supplier of it. But the people kept asking, "Are you going to get it? Can you get it?" I'm like, "Well, so all right." So there has been some good ones. There's been some cool stuff. It's fun, and it's what they like. So I'm just trying to give them a little happiness in their life and make a dollar.
But I see.
I don't. That's the other thing. They really have shrunk our profit margin on that, and I thought it was for a mom and pop. That's what I thought it was for, but I don't know. I don't like the all the structure of it.
And things that get in the way of supply and demand and things, I mean, there's some things that right off the bat, they're selling out. Like I remember telling you that one year you held the stuff for me. I went down with Joe when he was shooting the video, and we were down at Winchester, and they were just opening. And the moment they come open, just 2 minutes later, these girls just come out bawling their eyes.
Yeah.
They didn't get the Britney Spears or Taylor Swift or whatever. And I was just like, man, I had no idea this.
A lot of heartbreak there.
Oh, a bunch of them. I mean, there were so many. They waited all night too. Some of them waited like all night on the sidewalk out there to get it. And they didn't tell it. They got to have a better information thing to let people know. Hey, I got out this many copies, and here's your golden ticket now. But the thing that sucks is when you get a situation like that, are you going to blame customer number 3 in line to take advantage of the opportunity?
Well, you put a limit on how many a person can get. You try and let other people get some.
It's just a problem all the way around. It's a tough thing. So, man, what do you see in the future, man? What do you think is what are you seeing happening now? Is any shifts right now? That's recent trends or anything you see as we move into 2026, 27?
I think it's leveled off to a degree. Some of the RSD is kind of fizzing out a little bit. And it's just going to keep chugging along.
How are you right now? That was the last question I was going to ask now. How is it that some places can't find anything? You go to the place they can't find anything, but every time I come here or I come to other places, you always seem to get at where there are records. There has to be an increasingly drier and drier pond to buy records from, but it seems that you still are able to always have stuff that's pretty regularly have a.
Well, number one, I'm in West Virginia, Kaiser, West Virginia, so I don't get the traffic. So I have less cherry picked, which is intentional. I could throw them online and sell them like that, but I like people to find them in the wild and see their excitement.
Well, you get
in person,
but you getting them. They're them coming to you.
I don't. There is something. The universe. I don't know what it is. It's a power of attraction. I don't know if you know about that. I think that has a lot to do with it. It's the power of attraction.
You got some pretty good cherries now. You were telling me about you're getting ready to go out, and so I guess we'll save those for.
Okay.
This has been long.
Okay.
We'll save.
All right.
For the next thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, any closing thoughts? Anything? Nice to come here and see you.
Just seeing you. I just
going to get started soon again.
Just wanted to recap on Joe's. Unfortunately, about a year ago, he passed away. So I've been trying to process that. And rest in peace, Joe.
Yeah, nice guy, man. Well, anyway, thank everybody for coming in, and we will come back at you guys next time. Thanks a lot for tuning in.